On your heart, feel your heartbeat. Raise your voice to send your prayers out in song. Here's my heart, Lord. My life. Here's my life. all take a nice deep breath with our hands on our hearts, feeling our heartbeat. Giving gratitude for this day, for this moment.
You're home from
for this opportunity to be together today, tonight. Leaving behind our fears, our judgments, our concerns. Doing our best to be focused in this moment. Best way to focus is by pressing your hand against your heart, feeling the heartbeat, and taking a deep breath. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your hand filled with that warrior spirit. Thank you. The spirit of dedication, the spirit of a disciple of this path. A disciple dedicated to growing spiritually, healing emotionally, moving through the obstacles of life in order to see the light. And how wonderful that we have each other, that we have this spiritual community. Take a few moments to be in your prayer. Set your intention for your prayers. Set your intention for your evening. Set your intention for your connection with your brothers and sisters, your kindred spirits on this path, your mighty companions. To be an instrument of peace, to be a compassionate responder, but mostly to be a warrior, a spiritual warrior. Breath in, all of us together, exhale. And happy Thursday. Happy Holy Sacred Thursday. How wonderful to be together. All of us here, all of you there. We are in Rosh Hashanah, Lashana Tova, for those of you who celebrate and honor these days, these sacred days of awe and remembering. Rosh Hashanah, 10-day period of contemplation and reflection, remembering in awe, days of awe. It's so spiritually focused. And I wonder, why do we need holidays and holy days for that? You know, if we're on this path, we're disciples of our spiritual path, then we can be spiritually focused every day, at least for some part of the day. And so today we're remembering that Rosh Hashanah brings us to that place of awe, to be in awe of all that is amazing and wonderful of our life, of our opportunities, even the ones that feel bumpy and difficult. On this bumpy road to enlightenment, we can still be in awe of the process. And the days of remembering are to remember who we are, who we've been to one another. It takes us to Yom Kippur, which is a time of atonement and purging. I was going to not use the word atonement because it's so different from A Course in Miracles. It's a different, it's a different way, but it is a day of atonement. So let's just honor this holy time, this beautiful holy time in the Hebrew tradition, the Jewish tradition, and make a dedication to be in awe. To be in awe. We had rain earlier, and it was a big storm. It was like, be in awe of Mother Nature. Be in awe of the way the light hits the trees. Living in South Florida is amazing. You know, just throughout the day, you see all sorts of different light shows. You can walk outside and look at a tree, and half an hour later, the light shifts and it looks like a whole different light show, a different hue of green or yellow. And we can be in awe of that. We can be in awe of that instead of just walking past it. So we're going to make a dedication to just really getting into that place of wonderment as we move through days of stuff, our days of stuff, just stuff that comes up, stuff that's really exciting and makes us happy, and stuff that makes us unhappy. And I say makes because we decide what makes us happy and unhappy. And so what we're interacting with and how we see what we're interacting with is up to us. And so let's be real aware of that for these next 10 days. So I missed you last week. I wasn't here last week. I was under the weather, which is kind of funny because Florida has such beautiful weather. So if Florida weather's here, I was here. And but I've risen above that, so now I'm over the weather, and everything's good. Everything's fine. Nobody ever says that. They say they're under the weather. Nobody says they're over the weather. Okay. Why is that? I'm over-weathered? Oh, maybe that too. Uh-oh. But so I wanted to talk to you about something that I came across recently. I was gifted this book called The Ascension Handbook. A friend of mine had a friend who was the scribe for a channel, sort of like Bill Thetford was the scribe for Helen. This guy that I met the other day who gave me this book, his name is Joel Anastasi. He was the scribe for the channel who channeled the two Marys. So it's the Ascension Handbook by the two Marys. So by the two Marys we mean Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, but who knows? What matters is the message, right? Just like A Course in Miracles, I don't argue when people say, well, it can't be Jesus. I say, it's really about the material, you know? We are here to rise above semantics and personalities and issues that trip us up. So we just look for the message, and the message is so consistent and so beautiful. We can be in awe just of that of all these pages and all these chapters that we keep getting gently reminded about coming back to this place of centering ourselves so that we can be in a forgiving mindset, so we can be in a place of openness to the truth of who we are. So I was reading this book, and it's kind of unusual because for some reason I don't read books that much anymore. I used to read all the time. And then for my birthday, I got a lot of good books. I got, Tanzua, you gave me the Cast book that was like a big top seller, and somebody gave me the book on RBG, and I got a third book. Oh, what was it? Oh, the memoir that Barack Obama. Lots of good books, and they're all sitting somewhere waiting for me to read them. But this one, for some reason, it really caught my eye, maybe because it's a little thin. It's thin. Yeah, I wasn't intimidated by this. And so this is what I came across, and I said, OMG, I got to share this with my people. This is So Course in Miracles. And the reason I want to share it is because we are consistently hearing these messages being repeated over and over again from different sources. So it's not about just blindly being led by one path. It's about realizing that the path that we're following is a mystic's path. It's a path that we are open to, and that it is one that is spoken in different languages and in different ways of speaking. You know, some people might say they're speaking to angels, and that other guy a few weeks ago said he was speaking to the upper room. And as long as we're hearing the message that brings us back to this place of internal inspection, reflection, contemplation, so that we can make the shifts within ourselves, so that we can shift our eyesight and our vision, so that we can acquire Christ's vision and start to see the world differently, then whatever path takes us there, that's the path we take. We just happen to be students of A Course in Miracles, and I happen to love it, and I love that you're all here with me. So here's what the two Marys said. And I said, oh, this is So Course in Miracles. So it starts by saying, we wish all who read this handbook to understand that by using discipline, they become a disciple of love, a disciple of light, a disciple of universal law. Choose this and become surrendered. The disciple surrenders consistently, surrendering his ego to a larger consciousness. I mean, that's just different words saying what we say. It says, when you are a disciple, your consciousness is not yours. Your consciousness did not belong to you anymore. This is a tricky subject that most people don't speak about. Most people take the information from another dimension and make it small to fit their little world, which includes a private self and a private consciousness that belongs to them. In reality, this is folly, for your consciousness does not belong to you. Indeed, yourself does not belong to you. This is a big part of the reason why there is so much strife and conflict on earth. For thousands of years, the misinterpretation of self and consciousness has been that the self is private, that it is mine to own, to occupy, to treat, or not to treat, depending on how I see myself as a member of the universe. Now, this is a different way of saying exactly what the Course says. A Course in Miracles tells us that our consciousness is a part of God's. I am not alone in the effects of my thoughts. Lesson 18 or 19, you can check on that. I am not alone in the effects of my thoughts. Lesson 35, my mind is a part of God's. I am very holy. It is telling us time and time again, we are not here alone. We are not here as individual consciousness. We are here as a part of a collective. And so when we do our healing work, we're bringing our brothers and sisters with us to do the healing work, to affect change on a global level, not just for ourselves, but for the consciousness that we are a part of, the consciousness that we join when we leave our bodies, and even while we're in our bodies, while we're in this time and place, that our thoughts are a part of the greater mind. Confirmation here by the two mirrors. As we work together, we invite you to begin to investigate and question, what am I still entertaining in this private notion? Begin to look at the mirrors around you. Start to notice how limiting a private self and a private consciousness really is. When you start to appreciate that you are far more than you ever thought you were in a private self, you begin to realize that your consciousness is in fact infinite. And you begin to understand the limitations of what society has taught you. And then it says, when you look at this, you may be shocked. The introduction to A Course in Miracles specifically says, in the beginning, before you get into, after the text, but before you get into the workbook, the introduction specifically tells us, you may be startled by what you find here. Those are the words it uses. In fact, I'll read it to you. Let's just say count on it. Let's just say you absolutely will. It says, some of the ideas in this workbook presented you will find hard to believe. Others you will seem to find quite startling. This does not matter. You're merely asked to apply the ideas as you are directed to do so. You're not asked to judge them. You're asked only to use them. It is their use that will give them meaning to you and will show you that they are, in fact, true. So how many of us started these first couple lessons as newbies? And then what do we do? What? This is madness. Throw it against the wall for 16 years. And then suddenly you have all these ahas, because the general consciousness that is now being gifted to people who have the ears to hear is the exact same message, that we are not alone. We are in a dream world. We're moving into a higher state of consciousness, and we're moving into learning how to see things differently. Differently than what? Differently than our egos and our judgments and our fears. Tanzu is monitoring? Are you monitoring? Yeah. Tanzu is monitoring. So if you have any questions, you can ask, and she'll let me know that you're asking. So yeah, so the Ascension Handbook, I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to share it with you. So I'll leave that for now. I'll let you know if I find anything else that I want to share with you next week. Well, maybe one more thing. It says, as this process unfolds, you'll start to resonate with others who are experiencing the same awareness, those who have expanded past the boundaries of the private self. You will begin to form or join small groups. Here we are. Here's our group. That's us. For the purpose of developing a soul family. We are a soul family. Miracles with the twist. To support our mutual discipleship. That's us. The state of being of a disciple says, there is nothing else more important to me than my spiritual tools. There is nothing more important to me than putting my discipline to use today. there is nothing more important to me than entering a state of grace in a collective consciousness. So I just want to remind you that in about March of 2020, I think it was, Marion Williamson asked us all to stop what we were doing at 12 o'clock and pray for 3 minutes. And so I started doing that at work, because I was work. So I would stand outside my door, and I'd play a song, and I would just stand there for 3 minutes. I'd set a little timer. And now we're in September of 2021, and I'm still stopping every day at 12 o'clock. And now I go to a nurse's station, and there's more and more people who join me. I've had a number of nurses who they say like that's the part of their day that they can just get away from all the hecticness, the madness, the difficulty of their day, and just be completely centered. And every week I choose a new song, and we all get together, do an announcement over the loudspeaker that we're taking a prayer break. Everyone wants to join me, comes and joins me. So I'm going to ask you to join me. Just if you think about it. We tried to do this last time. It's hard when somebody's not calling you and telling you. But if you can think about it at 12 o'clock tomorrow, just imagine that we're all standing together. We're just all standing together, just in a prayerful state of contemplation. And we're usually singing the song. This week we've been singing The God Who Stays. And it's about how, and no matter what you do, there's nothing you can do. There's no harshness that you have about yourself that can take you away from the love of God. Nothing. Because it's a God who stays. Right? We're the ones who run away. There's a God who stays. So tomorrow at 12, maybe I will feel your presence as I stand in my 3 to 5 minute contemplation at 12 o'clock noon. I would love to know that you're there with me.
Can you access the song?
The song that I'm using this week? And every week, I could do that every week. I usually use a song that we've done here, and then I change it the following week. So I'll send you the one that I have for this week. Tomorrow's the last day, and then I start a new one on Monday. But yeah, I'd be glad to. So we're on chapter 21. So I'm going to just talk a little bit about chapter 21, and then we're going to look at the lessons for the day. In the text, FIP version, chapter 21. And I'm going to be jumping around, so that may not be easy to follow. We'll see what happens. The chapter introduction starts by saying, "Seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world." Seek not to change the world, but choose to change your mind about the world. We say this over and over and over again. And we might have an evening where we feel really centered and calm and like, yes, I am changed. And then we turn on the news the next day and something in us gets rattled. Something in us forgets. And so the discipline, the discipline of the disciple is to continuously do the work that brings us out of the world. That doesn't mean we don't interact. It doesn't mean we don't do good. It doesn't mean we don't try to do healing where there's harm. It just means that we don't let that define us. We don't let ourselves get so caught up in the stuff of the world that we see. It goes on to talk about how we are functioning as if we are sightless, because we're not seeing the truth beyond the immediate visual judgment, projection that we're watching on the news or in our life, in our difficulties, whatever it is. It's reminding us that there's a way of seeing beyond that. There's a way of healing that will take place within our consciousness when we focus in that moment of being in a prayerful, peaceful state and not in a state of reactivity and anger and upset. And it says, the blind become accustomed to their world by their adjustments to it. This reminded me of two things. When I was living in South Carolina, a long time ago, I think it was like the mid-80s, I had a friend, George, who was blind. And he was teaching me, and some of his friends were teaching me sighted guide, like learning how to move with him as we walk, so he would know, oh, we're going down a step, or we're going up a step, and there's just different ways to be a person's guide. And how his life was all about adjusting to sighted life. And he had interesting ways of making adjustments. People who are blind fold their bills a certain way, so they know what's a 1, a 5, a 20, 10. And it was interesting to see how independent he was based on his adaptability and his adjustment. So I thought about George today. And the other thing I thought about was, do you ever see those videos? They're always so touching, about the person who was colorblind like his whole life, and his class or his friends bring him a special pair of glasses, and he puts them on and he sees color for the first time. And sometimes they're overwhelmed by it. Sometimes they look around and they have to take the glasses off because they've adjusted to their limited perception of what color is. And when they have those glasses on, it's like, oh, what is that? That's yellow, that's orange, and they've never seen it before. You know, and that's kind of what the Course is telling us to do. You know, see beyond our black and white thinking. See beyond what it is that we form judgments around. To stop adjusting our blindness to our false perceptions, and to put on those glasses that let us see, or those glasses are our inner vision, to let us see the truth, the true light, the true brightness of the world. Okay, so I'm on page 447, which is chapter 21, The Forgotten Song, paragraph 8. Beyond the body, beyond the sun and stars, past everything you see, and yet somehow familiar, is an arc of golden light that stretches as you look into a great and shining circle. And all the circle is filled with light before your eyes. The edges of the circle disappears, and what is in it is no longer contained. The light expands and covers everything, extending into infinity, forever shining, and with no break or limit anywhere. Within it, everything is joined in perfect continuity. Nor is it possible to imagine that anything could be outside, for there is nowhere that this light is not. What a beautiful paragraph that shows us, it's so picturesque and shows us how to use our vision. Yes, Lisa?
Paul was flipping through and kind of tapped me and told me and pointed to that.
It's
all this stuff.
See? Spiritual
And I was
synchronicity.
like,
We are of like mind. It's so beautiful. If you read that paragraph over and over and over again, it is a continuous reminder of what the Course, what the two Marys, what the ancient paths, the Vedas have been asking us to do. To see this way. It's paragraph 8 of section 1, The Forgotten Song. It says this, everything I just said, this is the vision of the Son of God, the disciples, the sons and daughters, us. What a miracle it is. What a miracle this remembering. It's saying, what a miracle this remembering. Not this new thing, not this introduction, but this remembering of what always has been and what our ancient memory has stored. And we get a glimpse of it, and it's like, oh yes, this feels familiar. This feels right. This is where I belong. When we get into that meditative state that allows us to see what this is asking us to see. The arc of golden light that stretches beyond the circle. The light expanding and covering everything, extending into infinity. And then it says, what is a miracle but this remembering? And who is there in whom this memory lies not? Who, if we are all in this world at this time, regardless of our behavior, regardless of our past, regardless of our personalities, regardless of our criminal record or our criminal behavior, it is still in us. It is still in us. We still have the capability, the capacity. The light in one awakens And when you see it in your brother, you are remembering for everyone. When you see it, what a miracle this remembering, what a miracle to have the sight. And when you see it in your brother, you are remembering for everyone. Let me tell you a story. And it's like, no matter what has happened to you, this story is just going to like blow you out of the water. There's a woman that I work with at the nursing home. Her name is Rodney. And she's a very spiritual, loving woman. She kind of walks through the halls just filled with love. You know, she just exudes love. And we get a call one day saying that Rodney would be coming to work for a while because her son was killed in a violent robbery. And so I was keeping in touch with her, you know, every day, checking on her. She kept saying, you know, I'm trying to figure out what to do with my faith. I don't know what to do with my faith. Why didn't God protect my son? So it took her quite a while to get back to work. When she got back to work, she said, you know, she came to see me, she goes, I know now that God could have protected my son. But because he chose not to, I will choose to continue to believe in him because he knows what I can never know. He knows what I can never understand. And every day she would just come to me and talk to me with these words of wisdom. And she started seeing orbs in her house, and she would come and bring me pictures of these orbs. And it just seemed like she was just elevating. I mean, there's just something about her that's just so deeply spiritual. So the other day, sometimes she comes to my office and she cries, she closes the door, and she's suffering, you know, she's suffering. Lisa, I think you know, Reverend Mary's son died. And so I was doing the monthly service, and I dedicated the service to Reverend Mary Walker's son. And I didn't know that Rodney was there during the service. And after the service, she just went right up to Mary and embraced her. And I said, just like to Mary, like her too. I just said her too, so she would understand that she'd also lost a son. And they just embraced and held each other. It was like the end of a movie with the credits rolling and everybody's crying. It was just such a beautiful scene, you know, but it was real. It was real. Our love was real. So after that weekend, Rodney came up to me. She said, I just felt so drawn to your friend. You know, I felt her sorrow, and I wanted her to feel my heart. And so I told Mary that. I texted Mary and I said, you know, Rodney was really wanting to comfort you. She said, I know I lost my son to cancer. She said, but my fiance years ago had been stabbed to death. So he was also killed in a violent way. So they had somehow that esoteric understanding of one another. So then, all this time goes by. This has been a couple months. So she comes into my office the other day. And this is a woman who's Christian, traditional Christian, almost fundamental in her belief, very strong Christian belief. But the way she was speaking to me was as if she had created within herself an understanding beyond dogma. She came into my office and she said, I walk through the halls and I no longer see CNAs and nurses and patients. I see Christ. I see Christ. And she said, even when I think about the man who killed my son, I know that he is still a child of God, and I see Christ. And I was just blown away. Because I thought, you know, who we mad at? Right? We're mad at somebody who, you know, who tripped us up somewhere along the line, who we think maybe lied to us and betrayed us. She sees Christ in the man who murdered her son. And he hasn't even been found. So when the Course tells us that it's a miracle, but that it's a possibility, I think of her. She's my new hero. If she can see Christ, she says, I don't even see anymore. She says, everything has changed in me. I have become closer to God as a result of this. As a result of her son's murder, she feels closer to God because she feels as though every day of her life For as long as she has lived, as long as her children has lived, she's been speaking to God, connected to God, and did not feel as though God had betrayed her, but that had made a decision that's beyond her understanding. So I strive to be like Rodney someday. That's an amazing thing. It's just an amazing thing, an amazing story. So we're all working on ourselves for ourselves to find the peace within, regardless of the chaos without. That it's up to us to find that so that we can acquire Rodney vision. I'm gonna call it Rodney vision because she's the only human I know that has been able to do that under those circumstances. You hear about that. So I got a few things that reminded me of that. From The Deep Breath of Life by Alan Cohen. He tells this story, and you might have heard different versions of this story, of this guy who he just needed time to himself, needed time to relax, and his little boy wanted to play, wanted dad's attention. And his dad was like, oh, let me find something for him to do. So he took a picture out of a magazine. It was kind of a complicated picture. It was a picture of a scenery of some sort. He ripped it up and he gave it to his son. He said, I'll play with you when you're done putting this back together. So the son goes, he's like back in like 15 minutes. And his father's like, what? What happened? And what happened was, on the other side of the complicated picture, the picture of the earth you gave me was complicated. There were so many pieces, and they were all the same. So I turned over, and on the other side was a picture of a man's hand. I turned over another piece, and there was a picture of a foot. Now, this is a great line. It was easier to put one man together than the whole earth. I discovered that when the man came together, so did the earth. Right? So he says, often our need to save the world is a distraction from the real work of saving ourselves. In many cases, a crusade against the world pollution conveniently shifts our attention from the psychic pollution of our own fears and upsets. Of course, world peace and environmental healing are extremely important, but it's even more crucial that we come to terms with issues that undermine our inner peace. It's hypocritical to try to end international war if you have rage inside, if you have your own internal conflict ravaging. Personal integrity is the foundation of world transformation. Fill your spirit and your service will be infinitely more effective. Why? Because we're disciples. With peace and love, we can change the world. With peace and love, we'll make a new world. That used to be our congregational prayer at the end of the service. Peace and love, we'll make a new world. Help me remember that my primary responsibility is the healing of my own mind and heart. My peace is my first contribution to world peace. So peace within first. And then I was listening to Panache Desai. Some of you know him. He's an author and a spiritual teacher. And he talks about why is it so important for us to find our own inner peace. And his perspective was very interesting because he says when there's chaos around you and disruption, and you are also disrupted, then there's more that needs to be brought into harmony. But if you can bring yourself to peace, then that's just like one less person that needs to be brought to harmony. The peace is already established, so we work to establish it within ourselves. He says when the world around us seems unruly and out of balance, we need to find peace within ourselves so that there is less in need of harmony and balance because you've already been contributing to the harmony and balance of the world. That's our job. It's an inside job. Comments, questions? No? Not yet?
All right. Earlier, Mary had said yesterday and today, Unity World Prayer Days.
Yes, Unity World Day of Prayer for September, that's true. And it's interesting because Unity has World Day of Prayer, and it's always been around this time, and it just so happens that now we have a lot of united prayer going on for the 20-year anniversary of 9/11. So the Unity World Day of Prayer is always, I think September 9th. That's today. I don't know, 7, 8, 9, something like that. And that's always been their date, which is great. I mean, it's just great to think in terms of global consciousness and people praying together, people joining their minds and their hearts and Unity has the daily word, you could be reading that.
They have people literally praying 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And there's a light up in the room where they are. And
Nice.
You can send your prayers to them and they
I
will,
love that.
you can call
Yes.
24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and you can speak to a person.
And someone will answer the phone.
Mhm.
So that's World Unity Headquarters. What is it? It's good to know.
Yeah.
24 hours a day, someone will pray with you.
Yep.
Time check.
43.
So we had, losing my touch. All right, let's look at a couple of lessons. Lesson 251 and 252, this is yesterday and today. Beautiful lessons. What happened?
She's concerned for the comfort.
Oh, yes. Pam sits on the floor with Ernesto and Mr. Green. Lesson 251. I am in need of nothing but the truth. Can you handle the truth? I sought for many things and found despair. Now do I seek but one, for in that one is all I need and only what I need. All that I sought before I needed not and did not even want. It's talking about the things that we think will bring us peace, and maybe they make us happy for a little while. But we can also see how sometimes we were sort of chasing something that was supposed to make us feel better. My only need I did not recognize. But now I see that I need only truth. In that all needs are satisfied, all cravings end, all hopes are finally fulfilled, and dreams are gone. Now have I everything that I could ever want. Now I have everything that I could ever need. And now at last I find myself at peace. Let's say the prayer together. And for that, Father, and for that peace, our Father, we give thanks. What we denied ourselves, you have restored, and only that is what we really want. A lot of the patients that I work with like prayer, like the Our Father or the 23rd Psalm. A lot of people like the 23rd Psalm. My favorite line in the 23rd Psalm is, He restoreth my soul. He restoreth my soul. And one of the things we talk about often is a lot of people have lost their ability to walk or even to talk clearly, to have independence, and so they come back to that, He restoreth my soul. Because when you've lost so much, even your capacity as a formally strong person, it's very sad for a lot of people. They have a really hard time adjusting. And it's interesting how so many of them, the ones who are having an easier time adjusting, are the ones that are going in spiritually and letting the truth be what they live from the inside out, instead of being so concerned with the outside, and just living this life of continuously allowing for the restoring of their soul and not so much for the healing of their body.
We watched my mom go through that. Her mother always was very spiritual. She was also very pesty.
Pesty?
That's the only way I can describe it. But
Mom was pesty.
yeah. But as she was declining, and it wasn't the dementia. It was just moving on and losing her ability to do things physically, and Parkinson's and stuff. We noticed that Mom was very negative when she would tell us stories about her childhood, and my poor grandmother took a beating. But as she got into this state, all the stories that she told us over the years all had happy endings.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so who knows what it's all an illusion, right? So who really knows what happened, what she remembered, what was going on that made her have to tell us the crummy ending. And we watch these stories morph into more gentle.
Your mom has Parkinson's, yes? Sort of end stage.
And dementia,
Yeah. I heard a story once of a daughter and a father who were arguing over the fact that they smoked too much. And she was like, Dad, it's so bad for you. He was, oh, I'm a smoker. And he ended up having a heart attack. And she was like, now you give up smoking. He was like, I'm a smoker. I survived once, and he went back to smoking. A couple years later, he had a stroke. And he stopped smoking. And she was saying, oh, you don't want to smoke anymore? And he was like, oh, no, was I smoking? It's like, it wasn't a part of him anymore, So I don't know what happens to the brain, physiologically, as we have the different diseases of the brain.
I think it's divine.
But I was just going to say, but in a way, it gives us the opportunity to be out of the world, to be not so attached to the world.
I was a smoker for 35 years, and when I quit smoking, I would cheat, I smoked for 35 years. When my son got cancer, I did not want a cigarette. I couldn't put a cigarette in my mouth while a 25-year-old kid was fighting for his life. And I never wanted a cigarette again, nothing.
Our perceptions
and
change.
To me, that's truly divine. God said, you don't have time for this junk. I got other things for you to do. You got to take care of it.
Nice.
I'm not going to boast anything.
Yeah, it's amazing the things that shift our consciousness and continue to shift our consciousness. Ernesto needed a little attention.
Ernesto.
Well, he has true Christ vision. I really believe that, except for the occasional dog, which he doesn't like. But mostly,
Well, maybe he knows you more than you think.
mostly he just loves so much. And his auntie Pam sits on the floor and plays with him all night. 252, the Son of God is my identity. Myself is holy beyond all the thoughts of holiness of which I now conceive. Myself is holy. Captain Deborah, are you on? Are you on? She used to have a hard time with it. How can I call myself holy? And I would remind her of these amazing things she did, like getting kids bicycles and all this good work she would do in the world.
Just her smile.
Just,
When she walked into the room,
just her
very
goodness. You
smile.
hearing that? Lighting up our lives. And so part of being a presence of sacred ministry, of being the spiritual disciple, the spiritual warrior, is knowing that you are holy. Not because you're going to walk around and say, I'm holy, but because you will just be in that state of reflection so that when you see the things that start to bother you, upset you, you can change your eyes and be like Rodney. You can see the Christ. You see the light. You have to purify that part of you that does not see yourself as holy. See yourself as holy first, and you'll be able to see it in others. I don't know, he just wants a lot of attention. Nessa's walking around to everybody. Everybody saying, oh, did I forget to greet you earlier? He's just going around. She took him out earlier. But we'll see. We're having a discussion about his private needs.
It's just not working.
It's not. Okay, let's start again. Myself is holy beyond all the thoughts of holiness of which I now conceive. Its shimmering and perfect purity is far more brilliant than any light that I have ever looked upon. Its love is limitless, with an intensity that holds all things within it. In the calm of quiet certainty, its strength comes not from burning impulses which move the world, but from the boundless love of God. How far beyond this world myself must be, and yet how near to me and close to God. Now, how synchronistic is that with what we read in the chapter? When the chapter told us about this light, this arc of light, that we can see, that we can be a part of, that we can join with. And now it's telling us as a confirmation, coincidentally, I don't think the Course knew that lesson 252 would correlate with chapter 21 and paragraph 8, because who knew? Spirit knew somehow that that's what we were going to be discussing tonight. And so it's reminding us that myself is holy beyond all thoughts of holiness of which I now conceive. Its shimmering and perfect purity is far more brilliant than any light I have ever looked upon. Its love is limitless, with an intensity that holds all things within it in the calm of quiet certainty. In the calm of quiet certainty. Your quiet certainty speaks for itself. My students have often asked about how do people know that we're ministers. We're not wearing robes, we're not wearing collars, we're not wearing anything. Well, I am actually wearing something on my head, but we're not wearing something that specifically identifies us with a particular religion. We don't do that. I can see your halo, halo. But what we're doing is we are doing our best to walk the talk, to live the life of a disciple, of a disciplined spiritual warrior. And so it's not for us to be showy about it. It's quiet certainty. Not the certainty that gets on a soapbox and says, think as I think, do as I do, or just do as I say. It's a quiet certainty within us that allows other people to say, I like being in your energy. I like being around you, and I don't know why. But there's something that you're exuding. What is it? It's your love, it's your kindness, it's your compassion, it's your vision. It's that you see them. You see them for who they truly are. You see the light in them. Thank you. So let's do the prayer together. Father, you know my true identity. Reveal it now to me, who am your son, that I may awaken to the truth in you and know that heaven is restored in me. Why? Because I just need to know it. I need to know it. I need to deeply know it. So let's all know it. Let's all remember. Let's all be in awe of the truth. Let's get eyes like Rodney. And my end song is a little Michael Ferrante concert. I think you'll enjoy it. Let's stay for the end prayer.
Why does everybody in the world seem so divided? Why does everybody gotta hate each other? Who decided? If I took all the world's pride and all the world's money, wrapped it in a blanket and put it in a buggy, could you see that maybe that baby was just the same as you are? You know it's never been easy. Every day for everybody ain't breezy. And I hope you realize when you look into another person's eyes, you know today would be a very good day, just to have a good day. You know today would be a very good day, just to have a good day. With a little more love and a little more laughter, a little more good vibes, less disaster. You know today would be a very good day, just to have a good day. All day long, all day long. Good days, please come more often. Everybody's in the streets out coughing. Smog in the air, gonna send you to your coffin. Plastic everywhere down there with the dolphins. Everybody was born to a mama, so everybody is connected like karma. So disconnect yourself from the drama. Everybody's trying to heal like trauma. You know it's never been easy. Every day for everybody ain't breezy. And I hope you realize when you look into another person's eyes, you know today will be a very good day, just to have a good day. You know today will be a very good day, just to have a good day. With a little more love and a little more laughter, a little more good vibes, less disaster. You know today will be a very good day, just to have a good day. And I say, hey, hey, put all my troubles to the side, and I say, hey. To the side and I say, hey, hey, thank God that we're alive. Today will be a very good day, just to have a good day. You know today will be a very good day, just to have a good day. With a little more love and a little more laughter, a little more good vibes, less disaster. You know today will be a very good day, just to have a good day. All day, hey, hey.
today's a very good day, and tomorrow's a good day to have a good day too. The Holy Spirit can give you faith in holiness and vision to see, but you have not left open and unoccupied the altar where those gifts belong. Where they should be, you have set idols. This other will seems to tell you what must happen. But all that is asked of you is to make room for truth. You're not asked to make, do, or do anything that lies beyond your understanding. All you are asked to do is let it in. Stop your interference with what will happen of itself and simply recognize again the presence of what you thought was not there, the presence of what you thought you had given away, the presence of your own holiness. Thank you, God, for that. Blessed be you. Amen. Amen to that. Amen to that. So God bless you. Thank you for being here. And I'll be back next week. We have another week before. We have 2 more weeks. We have 1 more week, and then we have a 5th Thursday, which means I'll be in a meeting. But before that, we have Sunday, September 19th, which is our next gathering on the beach. So I'll be sending reminders of that, and there will be a link for your financial expression of appreciation. So thank you so much for being here. Don't forget to mark your calendars for next Thursday as well as the 19th for the beach. Sacred gathering at Lauderdale by the Sea. We call that our open air ashram. Good night.